1. Introduction. My name is Andy. I am 25 years old and I have a great love for travel. It is my favorite thing to do. I always want to explore new places, taste different kinds of food, and meet people from all over the world. One summer, I made a big decision. I bought an airplane ticket to Italy. My plan was simple, a solo trip. I imagined quiet days, walking through old cities, enjoying delicious Italian pasta, and taking many beautiful photos. I thought I would travel alone, following my own wishes and schedule. I wanted a peaceful, relaxing holiday far away from my usual routine. But my simple plan quickly changed. This trip did not stay simple for long. It became the most funny and strange journey of my entire life. This unexpected journey began right at the airport, before I even left my home country. The airport was a very busy place that day. Hundreds of people were moving in every direction. Loud announcements for different flights played over the speakers, making it hard to hear sometimes. I was waiting near my gate, preparing for my flight to Rome. That is when I first saw him. He was a very tall man with neat brown hair and bright green eyes. He was carrying a lot of luggage, maybe 3 big bags and a backpack. He looked very confused, almost lost, even though he was just standing still. He tried to check his phone while holding all his bags, looking a little stressed. Suddenly, a small, dark blue book slipped from his hand. It fell silently to the shiny floor. It was his passport. I quickly walked closer to him. "Excuse me," I said politely. "I think this belongs to you." I held out the passport. He looked at me, then at the passport in my hand, and then back at me. His eyes widened in surprise. A very big and grateful smile spread across his face. "Oh, my goodness," he said, his voice deep and full of relief. "Thank you so much. You just saved my life right now." He took the passport carefully from my hand. "I am Mike," he added, still smiling. I told him my name was Andy. We stood there for a brief moment, a little awkward but friendly. He looked a bit embarrassed about dropping his passport, but also very happy I had helped. "Are you going to Italy too?" he asked. I nodded. "Yes, to Rome," I replied. "This is my first time there." He said, "Me too." We exchanged a few more short sentences about our flights and plans. He thanked me again, saying he was very thankful for my help. I did not know then, standing there in the busy airport, that this tall, slightly confused, but very grateful man named Mike would soon completely change my entire trip. My idea of a simple solo adventure was about to become something much more exciting and unexpected. This small meeting was truly the first step in a big, unplanned adventure. 2. A new friend. I arrived in Rome, the capital city of Italy. My first goal was to see the famous Colosseum, a very old building. I held my paper map and tried to follow the directions. But the streets in Rome were old and narrow. They twisted and turned like a big maze. I walked for a long time, looking at my map. Soon, I realized I was lost. Every ancient building looked the same. I felt a little worried, standing alone on a busy street. Then I looked up and saw a familiar face. It was Mike, the tall man from the airport. He was standing on a street corner, looking at his own map with a confused expression. He looked up and saw me. We both stopped and stared for a moment. Then a big, friendly smile spread across his face. "You again," he said, his voice full of surprise. I laughed. "It looks like we are both lost," I replied. We shared a laugh, standing there in the busy Roman street, two tourists with no idea where to go. Mike told me he was also trying to find the Colosseum. He said he was from Canada and was traveling alone, just like me. Since we were both lost, we decided to try and find our way together. It felt better to be lost with someone else. We walked down many small, winding streets. We tried to read the street signs, but they were all in Italian. We pointed at different directions on our maps, sometimes choosing the wrong one. We got lost many times that afternoon. Each time we made a mistake, we just laughed more. It was not scary or frustrating anymore. It was a funny adventure. As the sun began to set, we were still not at the Colosseum, but we found a small, cozy restaurant on a quiet street. It had red and white checkered tablecloths, and the smell of fresh pizza filled the air. We sat down at a small table. We ordered a large, delicious pizza to share. Mike told funny stories about his trip so far. He made many jokes about how bad he was at reading maps. I laughed so much that I almost dropped my glass of water. It was a wonderful and unexpected evening. I realized that even though we had not found the Colosseum, I had found something better, a new friend. Traveling with Mike was already much more interesting and fun than traveling alone. 3. The wrong train. The next day, I wanted to go to Florence. I planned to take a train. I went to the busy train station. Many people were there, all waiting for their trains. I found my platform and looked at the train schedule. Suddenly, I saw Mike. He was running very fast, holding his bags tightly. He looked worried, almost in a panic. He jumped onto a train just before the doors closed with a loud hiss. I thought, that's strange. Is he going to Florence too? I checked my ticket again. It clearly said Platform 5. The train Mike had just taken was indeed on Platform 5. I quickly got on the train, finding a seat near a window. I took a moment to relax. Then I looked at my ticket one more time. Oh no. This was not the train to Florence. It was the wrong train. My heart felt a little fast. This was a big mistake. Mike was sitting a few seats away from me. He was looking at his ticket too, his brow furrowed. His eyes grew wide with surprise. He looked at me, then back at his ticket. I pointed to my ticket, showing him the wrong destination. He pointed to his. We both understood. We were on the same incorrect train. First, we were quiet. We could not believe it. We just stared at each other for a moment. Then, a small smile appeared on his face. I started to laugh, a little nervously at first. He laughed too, a big, hearty laugh. Our disbelief quickly turned into loud, shared laughter. We could not stop laughing. It was a truly funny situation. We were going to an unknown town, completely by accident. The train started moving faster. It was now taking us to a town we did not know, far from Florence. The train was very full. There were no empty seats anywhere. Mike and I had to share one small seat. He sat first, taking most of the space. I had to sit on the very edge, almost falling off. It was not comfortable at all. We tried to make more room, moving our bags. We gently pushed each other a little. We joked about it. "You have big legs," I said with a smile. He laughed. "And you have a big bag," he replied, pointing to my backpack. The journey was long. We talked about where the train might go and what we would do when we arrived. We imagined what the unknown town would be like. We shared some snacks from my bag, making the best of the situation. We looked out the window at the passing fields and small villages, trying to guess our location. The sun was shining brightly outside. Even though it was uncomfortable, it was very funny. We were on an unexpected adventure again. This trip was full of surprises. It was becoming a very strange but fun journey with Mike. We wondered what would happen next. We knew it would be an interesting day, full of new experiences. One room left. The train stopped in a small town. It was very late at night. Outside, the sky was dark and heavy rain fell. Mike and I stepped off the train, feeling tired and wet. We looked around. The town was quiet with few lights. We knew we needed a place to sleep. We started walking, holding our bags close. The rain made the streets shiny. We looked for a hotel sign. After walking for about 20 minutes, we saw a small light. It was a sign for a hotel. We felt happy and went inside, glad to be out of the rain. A kind man was at the front desk. "Hello," I said. "Do you have 2 rooms?" The man looked at his computer. He shook his head. "I am sorry," he said. "We have only 1 room left tonight. It has 2 small beds." Mike and I looked at each other. We had no other choice. It was late and the rain was still falling. "Okay," I said, "we will take it." The room was simple and small. There were 2 narrow beds next to each other. Mike quickly put his bag on one bed. "This one is mine," he said with a smile. I laughed. "Hey, no, that was my bed," I told him, but he just laughed more, so I took the other bed. It was a little funny sharing a room again. Suddenly, the lights went out. The room became completely dark. We heard other people in the hotel make surprised sounds. It was a power outage. Mike and I sat on our beds in the darkness. We could not see anything, but we could hear the rain outside. It made a soft, peaceful sound. We started to talk more deeply. Mike told me about his dream. He wanted to be a writer. He said he loved to write stories. He wanted to travel and write about new places and people. I listened carefully. Then I told him about my job. I worked in an office. It was not very exciting, and I often felt bored. We talked for a long time in the dark. We shared many personal thoughts and dreams that night. It felt good to talk so openly. It was the first time I felt truly comfortable with him. I felt like I could completely be myself. The night passed slowly, filled with our quiet voices and growing friendship. We learned much more about each other under the dark, rainy sky. 5, a day at the market. The next morning, the sun was bright. We left our hotel and walked to the town market. It was a lively place. Many people were there. The air smelled of fresh bread and sweet fruits. There were tables full of colorful vegetables and big cheeses. Sellers shouted loudly, trying to sell their goods. It was a new and exciting place for us. Mike wanted to buy some apples. He went to a fruit seller. He tried to speak Italian. He said, "Hello, how much are these?" Red round things. He used his hands a lot. The seller looked at him with a confused face. Mike tried again. He used some Italian words he knew, but he put them in the wrong order. He meant to ask for the price, but he said something like, "Apples, you are very happy today." The seller stopped. Then he started to laugh. He laughed a lot, and his face became red. Other people near us also smiled. Mike looked confused for a moment, then he started to laugh too. The seller was very happy because Mike was so funny. He picked up 2 big red apples and gave them to us for free. "For the funny man," he said in Italian. We thanked him quickly. My smile was big. It was a very kind gesture from the seller. We walked on, eating our sweet apples. Mike held a small bag with some oranges inside. Suddenly, one orange slipped from his hand. It rolled fast on the ground. "Oh no," Mike said loudly. The orange rolled away past many people's feet. Mike quickly started to run after it. He ran between tables and around people. He looked like a child chasing a toy. People in the market watched him. Some laughed loudly. Some clapped their hands, cheering him on. The orange rolled under a big table. Mike bent down and finally caught it. He stood up, holding the orange high like a prize. Everyone clapped again. It was a very funny moment for everyone. We walked slowly back towards our hotel, laughing about the day. The market was a wonderful place with so many interesting things. But it was Mike who made it truly special. Before this trip, I always traveled alone. I thought it was the best way to see the world. But now, with Mike, every small thing became an adventure. Every mistake became a funny story we could share. I started to understand that traveling with him was much better. It was more fun and more exciting than being alone. This trip was not just about seeing new places. It was about sharing them with a new friend. I felt very happy and lucky. 6. A big fight. We finally arrived in Florence. The city was beautiful, full of old buildings and narrow streets. I felt excited. There was so much to see. Our plan for the day was clear. We wanted to visit the famous art museum. I had read about it and really wanted to go. I told Mike we should leave early to avoid the crowds. The next morning, I woke up on time. I got ready quickly. I waited for Mike, but he did not come out of his room. I looked at my watch. 10 minutes passed. Then 20 minutes. I started to feel impatient. The museum would be busy and we would lose time. I knocked on his door. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Finally, Mike opened his door. He looked sleepy. "Are you ready?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. He said, "Oh, good morning, Andy. I slept a little late." A little late? We had a schedule. My patience was gone. "You are always late," I said, my voice louder than I planned. "You don't care about my plans. We planned this, Mike." He looked surprised, then angry. "And you are too serious," he shouted back. "You never relax, Andy. This is a holiday." We stood there, looking at each other. The words felt hard and cold. We did not say anything else. There was a quiet, sad feeling between us. I turned and walked away. I decided to go to the museum alone. I spent the whole day exploring Florence by myself. I walked through the streets. I saw old bridges and beautiful statues. The art museum was amazing, but I felt sad. I wished Mike was with me. The city did not feel as bright or fun without him. I thought about our fight. Maybe I was too serious sometimes, but he was late so often. That evening, I was in my room. I heard a soft knock on my door. It was Mike. He looked down at his shoes. "Andy," he said quietly, "I am very sorry. I did not mean to hurt you this morning. I know I was late. It was my fault." I looked at him. His eyes were sincere. I could see he was truly sorry. "It's okay," I said. "I am sorry too. Maybe I was a little too angry." He smiled a small smile. "Friends again?" "Friends again," I replied. We talked for a while. We decided to be more careful with each other's feelings. After that, we laughed about the silly fight. The bad feeling was gone. It felt good to be friends again. 7. The surprise. We arrived in Venice, the famous city of canals. The air felt different here, cool and a little salty. We saw many old buildings and small bridges over the water. Mike seemed very excited. He had a big smile on his face. "Andy," he said to me, "I have a special surprise for you tonight." I felt a little curious and happy. What could it be? We had shared so many funny moments and seen many beautiful places on our trip. But this surprise felt different, more personal. Later that evening, when the sun had completely gone down, Mike took my hand. We walked together through the narrow, twisting streets of Venice. The streetlights were soft, making long shadows. We passed small shops and quiet cafes. Soon, we stopped next to a small, dark canal. A beautiful, long boat called a gondola was waiting there. It was painted black and looked very nice. Mike helped me carefully step into the boat. Then he sat down across from me, his eyes shining. "Now, close your eyes," he told me gently. His voice was calm and soft. I listened to him and closed my eyes. I could hear the quiet sound of water against the boat. The man steering the boat began to move us slowly. I felt a cool, light wind on my face. It felt like we were floating in the dark. A few quiet minutes passed. It felt like a long, peaceful wait. Then Mike spoke again, his voice a little louder this time. "Okay, you can open them now, Andy." I slowly opened my eyes. What I saw was truly amazing and took my breath away. The city lights of Venice were everywhere. They shone brightly from the old buildings, from the windows, and from the small lamps on the bridges. All these bright lights reflected perfectly on the dark, calm water of the canal. It looked like thousands of tiny, sparkling diamonds were floating below us. The tall, ancient houses and the pretty bridges seemed to glow. It was a magical and beautiful sight. I felt a tear come to my eye because it was so lovely and unexpected. Mike looked at me, his face lit by the soft city lights. His eyes were warm and kind. "I never planned to meet someone like you on this trip, Andy," he said, his voice almost a whisper. His words touched my heart deeply. This whole journey had been full of laughter, mistakes, and wonderful surprises. But now, it was much more than that. I realized, in that moment, that my feelings for Mike were growing stronger and deeper. This was no longer just a fun travel friendship. It was becoming something truly important and special. I knew then that this trip had changed my life in a beautiful way. 8, the last day. The final day of our trip came much too fast. We were at the airport, a very big and busy place. Many people were going to many different countries. The sounds of announcements filled the air, but our own words were quiet. We both felt a little sad because our amazing journey was ending. Mike had to fly back to Canada. I had to go home too, to a different country. We stood near my gate, not wanting to say goodbye yet. Mike looked at me with his green eyes. He smiled, but his smile was a little sad. He said, "Andy, this journey was the funniest time of my life. I never thought a trip could be so good. It was the best because you were with me." His words made my heart feel warm and heavy at the same time. I did not know what to say back. My throat felt a little tight. All the good memories of our trip came to my mind. Getting lost in Rome, taking the wrong train, sharing the one hotel room, the funny market, even our big fight, and the beautiful surprise in Venice. Every single moment was special because of him. I just nodded. Then I put my arms around him and gave him a hug. It was a long hug. I whispered, "Me too, Mike. Me too." We both knew this was not just a simple goodbye. It felt like something more. We pulled away slowly. Mike held my hands. He looked at me again. "We will keep in touch, Andy. Promise?" he asked. "Yes, I promise," I said. We exchanged phone numbers and email addresses one more time just to be sure. It was a small thing, but it felt very important. Soon, it was time for my flight. I had to go through security. I waved goodbye to Mike one last time. He stood there until I could not see him anymore. I walked to my gate, feeling a strange mix of emotions. There was sadness to leave him, but also a new kind of happiness in my heart. I found my seat on the plane. The plane started to move slowly. Then it went faster and faster down the runway. Soon we were in the air, flying high above the ground. I looked out the window. White clouds floated below us like soft cotton. The cities looked like tiny toys. I thought about Mike. Our funny travel journey was over, yes. But I felt a deep feeling that this was not the end of our story. It felt like it was just the beginning. I smiled to myself, watching the world pass by. This trip had changed my life in a way I never expected. It had given me a new friend, and maybe something more. I knew I would see him again.